Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my future card Buddyfight Takosuke Hero World deck profile for March 2024. When going through all of the different future card Buddyfight decks I've done on the channel, a lot of them have been updated to what they can be updated for with the support we were left when Buddyfight ended, but I've been going back and just seeing, decks that I haven't done profiles for on the channel, and Takosuke Hero World was one that was avoided. This is a deck that focuses on the ride aspect, being able to ride in Takosuke's UFO as you, the fighter, as your ride option with the many different forms of Takosuke, and even using cards like Takokichi from the Buddy Ragnarok set to make use for this Hero World deck. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So big thanks to my wife Marissa for letting me use her deck for the deck profile. As usual, our buddy for the deck is Martian UFO, Takosuke Revival Buddy, and our flag is Hero World. We have the one copy in the spot for the Buddy Zone for our grade 1, which we'll get to in just a bit. This is the SP art for it, so when you see the other version, it is still Takosuke Revival Buddy. But for the size 2 monsters, we run 4 copies of Martian Speedy UFO, Takokichi, Double Omega. For the call cost, it's a pay 1 gauge, and then Double Omega Octopus system. If you are a ride on a battle building, return 2 or more spells with different names from your drop to your deck, and shuffle your deck. If you do, put the top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge. Then if you return 4 more cards, you gain 2 life. 6 or more, draw 2 cards. You can only use Double Omega Octopus system once per turn. So the option with this card is more just for the setup for a size 2 double attack on the rear guard. The battle buildings aren't really something we're running in this deck, since this is more of a superhero deck, which Takokichi is still a superhero for the lineup, but just a good 6k rear guard to be able to swing into your opponent with for damage. We also run 4 copies of Uniform Warrior, Blazer Frill, Revival Buddy. Its call cost is pay 1 gauge. Counter, during each player's attack phase, call this card from your hand by paying its call cost. And if a superhero is on your field, this card's size on the field is reduced by 2, and it gets plus power 8,000 and critical plus 1. And when this card's attacked, if you are transformed into a superhero, a card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, and it also has move and penetrate. So the setup here is just to be able to call an additional superhero on the field as well. For the option of the setup with this card as well, being able to get the additional critical and reducing its size by if this card on the field, if a superhero is on your field as well, which once again Takosuke meets the requirements for the superhero lineup in the deck. For the last of the size 2 monsters, 2 copies of Martian Handsome Superhero Takosuke. Its call cost is pay 2 gauge, and also having the double attack and ride ability. Martian Handsome Beam, you pay 1 gauge, and if you do declare a monster or spell, look at your opponent's hand, and if there is a card of the declared type among them, you gain 1 life. Then if there are 2 or more, draw a card. You may only use this effect of Martian Handsome Beam once per turn, but that is the play that you do when you ride as Takosuke. And then you have the declaration, just like with the Revival Buddy, to be able to declare if you know your opponent's deck and guess right, gaining additional plays off of that. That is played more into our main unit in the deck, which is Martian UFO Takosuke Revival Buddy, which is also our buddy in the deck, but as I said, just a different art for it. Its call cost is pay 1 gauge. Counter, Crackling Taco Beam. During each player's attack phase, you may pay 1 life. If you do, declare a card type. Look at your opponent's hand. If there is a card type with the declared card type among them, deal 2 damage to your opponent. Then, if 3 or more cards are among them, draw 2 cards. You want to use Crackling Taco Beam once per turn. You can choose monster, spell, item, impact, and also with that card, flag, and impact monster for card types. So they all declare the different types. So if you know the specific cards your opponent may have in their deck or in their hand, declaring what you need off this card can give you more resources while also dealing some pretty big damage to your opponent. And it's during each player's attack phase, so you can use it during your own and also during your opponent's, dealing for 4 damage if you know they kept the specific amount of cards or what they added from their deck to their hand. And being able to ride means you can just play as the ride option for Martian UFO Takosuke to place on top of your Hero World flag. Also running the 4 copies of Gossip Burglar Parko. When this card link attacks, choose a card from your opponent's hand at random and reveal the chosen card. If the card is a monster, deal 2 damage to your opponent. If it's a spell, you gain 2 life. So this is just an added option for you to learn what the cards in your opponent's hands are as well. Being a size 1 monster to link attack with your ridden Martian UFO Takosuke if you need to learn what more of the cards your opponent may have in their hand to begin with. And also the 4 copies of an unexpected helper, Takosuke. Once again, with the ride ability, when it attacks, you may pay 1 gauge, declare a monster spell, or look at your opponent's hand. If there's a card of the declared type, this turn it gets critical +1 and double attack. It's also a potential ride, but still I just like being able to call this size 1 to the circles on the left or right to then have the additional attacks to do with some of our other size 1 monsters. And also for the rest of the size 1 monsters, 2 copies of Martian UFO Takosuke. Martian Zap Beam, if you ride on this card, pay 1 gauge, declare the name of a card, and look at all the cards in your opponent's hand. If the declared card's among them, deal 2 damage to your opponent. So once again, just having another ride option as a backup to the Martian UFO Takosuke Revival Buddy, which I'd say is still a better one to go into, but still being a Takosuke deck, I wanted to have all bases covered with this card. You could also potentially take this card out for 2 additional copies of Handsome Superhero Takosuke to run a 4-of count of this card. Going into our other monsters, for the non-Takosuke size 1s, 2 copies of Guild Guider, Tsurugi, and Stella. When this card link attacks, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and gain 1 life. So just more resources with the link attacks, being able to benefit off of link attacking with cards like Parko for the additional gain for gauge and life. For our spells, we're running 4 copies of the Shield of Justice, Will Never Shatter. You only cast this during attack your opponent's turn. Nullify the attack if it's not a link attack, so more defense since we'll be ridden for a good amount of the game. Wanting to keep our center clear, just a shield option to use against our opponent. And same with the 4 copies of I've Seen Through Your Moves. We are getting the, revival spell lineup for this card as well, which will be great for the resource. I really do hope we get it in English as well, just to be able to use on our own turn for the added benefits of building up gauge and life. Also running the 3 copies of I Won't Let That Happen. You may only cast this if you're being attacked. Counter, move a superhero monster on your field to the center and change the target to that monster. So depending on where we have a superhero monster on the field, just being able to move it to the center to take the attack for us is just another great diversion play and very superhero-like as well for another 3-of count. Also for more gauge buildup, 3 copies of Hyper Energy, just putting the top 4 cards of your deck into your gauge. We are getting a revival spell for this also, so it could potentially be an added addition. And if we were to do so, we could take out one of the defensive spells or even the This Is Hyper Energy, just being a search for Hyper Energy to begin with. And then also 2 copies of It's About Time I Got Serious. You pay 1 gauge, draw 2 cards, and if you have a 6 life or left, so the standard draw power for the deck. 2 copies of Or So the Dream Had Went for a pay 2 gauge to nullify a spell cast by your opponent. The 2 copies of Defeat Them in My Place, just giving you more gauge options and reducing damage, with the last of these spells being 2 copies of That Is an After Image. So just protection for your hero on the field as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Once again, I really do love doing Buddyfight decks on the channel, so being able to, cover ones that I haven't yet on the channel is a lot of fun to do, and I hope you all enjoyed them as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.